Okay, here I'm right in the middle of this. I'm installing this treble bleed circuit, which I made. Here we go. There, now we can see it. It's basically directly from the American Pro Series Tele. That's the diagram of it that I drew real quick. And I was kind of in the middle of it here and realized that maybe other people might want to know how to do it or what it does or something. So I'll provide very little information because I'm definitely not the expert on these matters, but I did have an American Professional Tele, and I liked the way the volume knob acted with the treble bleed circuit, so I've replicated it here with a capacitor and a couple of resistors I got off of Amazon. I've already desoldered the wire from the center lug of the volume pot there, and now I'm getting ready to solder it back together. So I need to grab a little pair of pliers here because my fat fingers are clumsy, and so I can get that in there, kind of hopefully halfway decent maybe. This is a little bit of an experiment too, because obviously these aren't the same pickups that are in an American Professional. So it's not necessarily my finest assembly, but it's kind of a test. So if I like it, I might actually just take it apart and rebuild it and have it look a little bit nicer, because I am kind of, a little bit picky about that sort of thing. But for right now, I just want to see how it's going to sound and whether or not I'm going to like it. So we'll get that kind of wedged in there well enough where I can solder it at least. I'll grab the soldering iron here, put a little solder on the tip. That's why I have this rag wrapped around, so we don't get anything on the finish, even though it is a relic. And we'll just try to do a quick solder as quick as possible so we don't get it too hot. And I'll go ahead and take my little snips, snip the end off it there. And then we'll do the same thing on the other lug over here, if we can. Might need to give that just a second to cool off now that I've had a couple of attempts at trying to get it in there. I'm going to switch to some pliers with a little bit more grip here. And just give that another quick. Well, being a little stubborn now. There we go. And we don't have the pot too terribly hot. That's nice. Try to keep from staying on those too long because you can ruin them. And it's really not that hard to do it. The other thing we need to do now is make sure that we grab the tail of that one and go ahead, if I can, snip it off so we don't have it grounding on anything. It shouldn't be. And that should be about it. We should be pretty well ready to test her out. Like I said, don't criticize the install quality or the build quality of it just yet. It may not be the final iteration here, just the initial test. So now we'll go ahead and take the rag out of the way. And that's what I really like about Teles is I don't have to take the whole pick guard off or take the strings off or anything to get to that. I can just get right to it. Take that switch plate right off, and within a few minutes we've done a modification and we can put it straight back in. That's another thing I should show here is if you're taking apart your guitars and you have threads in the wood, if you just back the screw off a little bit until you feel it drop back into the slot like that, just a little drop, and then you go right back in and it just threads right into the same threads that it had before. Instead of double threading the hole and wearing it out over time, if you like to do modifications or take your guitar apart or clean it or whatever, whatever it is you're doing, it's your instrument. You're welcome to do whatever you want with it, of course, but that works on just about anything, whether it's finely machined threads on eyeglasses or machinery, guitars, and that way you end up with without ruining or cross-threading the hole. So that's about it. I'm going to take it in the other room and test it. I'll try to film it and see what the results are like.